Maryland is a reliably blue state and has not voted for a Republican in a presidential election since 1988. But despite that, the state has had a Republican governor since 2015. Army captain and best-selling author Democrat Wes Moore is trying to change that and would become the first African-American governor in the state's history. I got a chance to run with him, and while keeping up was no easy feat for me, Moore is trying to win his race to November by sharing his unique life experiences with voters.
You ready for this?
I am not, but we're going to do it anyway. Get set, go!
Wes Moore is deceptively fast, but this 43-year-old father of two is just as quick to follow the military mantra turned campaign slogan, "Leave no one behind."
My definition of patriotism was when I left my family and I put on the uniform of this country. When I was leading soldiers in combat, you know a question I never once asked them? What's your political party? It didn't come up. So the idea that somehow someone can come up and claim that they have a greater grasp of patriotism or love of their country is foolish. And so I would challenge anybody or any political party who thinks they have the monopoly cornered on what it means to be a patriot.
Rhodes Scholar, Army captain, White House fellow, best-selling author. What is it that keeps you going?
I watched my dad die in front of me when I was when I was 3 years old, because he didn't get the health care that he needed, because there was assumptions about whether or not he had insurance. So I think I've come up with this understanding that nothing is promised. And I think there's a measure of impermanence in life that we've got to take seriously. And there's a measure of impact in life that we've got to, that we've got to think through honestly.
Good morning. Good to see you.
He's being taken very seriously by voters, something we witnessed firsthand on this trail in Baltimore.
How you doing?
Which almost seemed to double on this day as a campaign trail.
I love what you're doing. I love
Maryland, we leave no one behind, Maryland.
right.
The biggest weakness that we had to overcome on the campaign trail was people just not knowing who we were yet. My work has been done both in and with communities, but it wasn't from a political frame. And so I think we really had to push hard to remind people that A, the work that we were doing all these years in community is just as relevant to the job and to the work as anyone else.
You said I'd rather flirt with failure than never dance with my joy.
Yeah.
Explain what you mean by that.
I mean, when I first started this race, we were polling at 1%. Literally, I think, I'm not voting was polling higher than what I was polling at. And at that point, we could have made a decision, say, you know what, let's just pack this thing in because there's a good chance it might not work out. But that wasn't our mentality.
Polls now show a double-digit lead over Moore's opponent, Dan Cox, a 2020 election denier who earned the endorsement of former President Donald Trump. But the current Republican governor, Larry Hogan, called him a QAnon whack job who he refuses to vote for.
Cox will protect the Second Amendment at all costs.
But Moore's lead is not without some controversy. After the Democratic Governors Association spent more than $1 million to support Cox's campaign, airing ads like this.
Donald Trump's hand-picked candidate for Maryland governor.
Which some say was an attempt to undermine other Republican candidates that would have had a stronger showing against Moore.
And that's, in fairness, not just here in Maryland, but that's been the strategy in several states. And I wonder what you think about that strategy.
I don't think that they bet that he would be an easier opponent. I think they bet that he would be the opponent. A single ad that the DNC or anyone else funded was not going to shape that election. He was going to win the nomination. But I think what was important was it's important for Marylanders to know who he is. It's important for Marylanders to know that this is not an opponent. This is a threat.
Moore's best-selling memoir, The Other Wes Moore, compares his life story with another Baltimore man of the same name, now serving life in prison for killing a police officer. That book has now become a bit of a sticking point in the race for governor, with critics accusing him of lying about his birthplace.
What's this controversy about whether you're from Baltimore, claiming this as the hometown? Is it real, or is this just a dog whistle?
I have nothing about my life to exaggerate about. And everything that I've written and always said about my life has been accurate and consistent. I moved around a lot because of tragedy, because of trauma. And for political opponents to try to exploit that, I think says more about them than it does about me. When I say I'm a Baltimorean, And when I say I'm a Baltimorean by pride, and when I say that this was the place that I came of age, I mean that. And no one has the right to take that away from me.
Moore says he's focused on real issues like crime, which has plagued this city in particular for decades.
How are you going to tackle crime? I mean, we're talking about, here we are in Baltimore, 235 murder investigations just so far in 2022. And that's just one city in this entire state.
I actually left the campaign trail to go speak at the vigil of a 69-year-old grandmother who was a member of my church over in East Baltimore, who was a custodian there and was killed in the church bathroom. A 69-year-old grandmother. The crime and the public safety issues are real, and the #1 responsibility for any chief executive is to make sure that your people are safe.
If you win, you'd become the first black governor of Maryland. Is there a certain weight to that?
This is the state of Thurgood Marshall and Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass. The thing that I know is that while it is incredibly humbling that I could be the first black governor in the history of the state and only the third elected black governor in this country, I also know that I'm not running to make history. I'm running because I want to make child poverty history. We're going to make the racial wealth gap history. We're going to make environmental injustice history.
While leaving no one behind is this veteran's mission in the race to November, we did see him make one exception.
I just had home field advantage.
Oh, man. You were way too fast for me. Oh, my goodness, because I thought you actually stepped off the gas at the end. Oh, that was fun. That was fun.
That was fun. I love Baltimore.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.